Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Russia once again for the first time in what feels like a good long while. Now, as I've told you in previous reviews, there are some very good Russian craft beers and breweries out there these days. My first experience with Russian craft beer goes back to about 2016 when Malmö Brewing Company here in Skåne in the south of Sweden hosted a Russian craft beer festival. There was about 20 or so different breweries there, but I was really impressed with the standard of stuff that I saw. I didn't get any more Russian beer for a couple of years after that until a friend went to Moscow and brought back a few things for me, and I was really impressed with those as well when I got hold of them. And just after that, we actually started to see a few of the same breweries that I tried getting their beers into the EU, and it seems to have expanded a little bit since then actually. So yeah, if you do get the chance to try some Russian beers, I highly recommend that you do. There's a few breweries making it into the EU regularly, such as Zagovor, AF Brew, Stam, Bakunin, and we're starting to get a few other ones that I haven't heard of before making their way out as well. So long may that continue. The Russian beers are very good in my experience, and you should try some of them if you get the chance. But yeah, for this review then, we are going to have a look at a beer from another brewery that I've never tried anything from before. These guys are from a little place called Chertanovo, which is in southern Moscow, and I think it should be quite an interesting beer actually, not a style that you come across all that often. So yeah, for this one then, we are going to go to Selfmade Brewery, and we're having a look at their crusher machine. So this particular beer comes in at 8% ABV, and they're describing this one as a Hornindal Kveik double IPA. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, the Kveik yeasts are basically old Norwegian farmhouse yeasts. They give you a lot of fruity character and a really nice kind of soft farmhousey quality. And Hornindal, to be specific, is an old municipality in Norway. It's like a historic district, if you like. It doesn't sort of exist legally anymore, but it's kind of widely recognised as a sort of historic province, much in the same way that the likes of Småland and things are over here in Sweden. But yeah, very, very curious to see how this one turns out. Always nice to introduce new Russian breweries to you here on the channel as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy my take on this one and my first Russian Kveik IPA. So yeah, let's see how we go. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Selfmade Brewery. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Russian beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, but not as often as I would like. So hopefully I can get some more Russian beers at some point fairly soon. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review, particularly if you're watching from Russia. It would be great to learn a few more breweries to keep an eye out for, but it's always great to hear from all of you, and just let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Always cool to hear from you guys. The support you show the channel is massively, massively appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Selfmade Brewery then. So Selfmade Brewery, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in a district called Chertanovo in southern Moscow, and the company was founded back in 2016 with the first beers being released in early 2017. But the main men behind the company are Alexander Sasha Gromov and Yuri Kilov. So Alexander, or Sasha, has official qualifications as a brewer, and he studied originally at the Moscow State University of Food Production, or the MGUPP as it's abbreviated to, but then he also studied later at the Berlin Brewing Institute before doing an internship with Napa Beer over in Spain. But he had a few contract brewing projects before starting up Selfmade Brewery. The first of which was No Name Brew, and then the second was Diaz Brew. The second apparently had 4 founders, but they all had different ideas, so that didn't last all that long. But at this point as well, he was also consulting various startup brewers in the Moscow area as well, and collaborating with a lot of different breweries too. Yuri, on the other hand, he is the CEO of the company, and he comes from a background in trading, but apparently he left this and decided that he wanted to move into the craft beer industry. And to do this, he joined the Tsar Pivo network, and along with his colleague Yevgeny Smirnov, and it was there that he met Alexander. But at this point, he had the resources to start a new business, but didn't have any idea where to begin so that he could break into the craft beer scene. And Sasha Alexander was just looking to start up his own company and get brewing on his own again, and so it just became a really good fit for them, actually. So they got together, they founded a premises, renovated it, and then released their first 3 beers in early 2017. They chose the name Selfmade because they kind of did everything themselves, and they sort of wanted the image of the brewery to be a kind of DIY brewery, so I think it suits them quite well. But it was around this time, when they got the first commercial beers released, that Artem Perlin joined the brewery as their kind of salesman. But the brewery itself is equipped with a 1500 litre brew kit, and they've got a 250 litre pilot kit as well for small experimental brews, and all of the equipment is Russian and comes from Nomas and Polyfilter, and they switched as well from bottles to cans in 2020. But apparently they also have a collaboration with the Nevada Bar in Moscow as well. They're not officially linked, if you like, but they do a lot to kind of promote these self-made brewery beers throughout Moscow, which is really great. But as of May 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 140 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd, and apparently there are also a few beers that are released every so often from the No Name Brew label as well. So that one is still active. One of Sasha's original projects is still active, actually, and those beers are, of course, brewed in the Selfmade Brewery premises. But yeah, that's all I could really find out about this brewery. It was a little bit difficult to get the information on these guys, and that's why it took me a little bit longer to get around to filming this review, because I ordered this beer a few months ago. But yeah, the way to find information on the Russian breweries is to try and find one of the founders' names, put it into Cyrillic, put it along with the brewery's name, and then you'll get a bunch of articles popping up from various Russian bloggers and stuff like that. It's quite difficult, as I say, to get information on the Russian breweries, and if you don't, of course, if that doesn't work, then you just have to email them and hope that somebody speaks English. I think in Russia, from what I've heard, from what some Russian friends have told me, it's not all that common for people to speak English. But I think in the craft beer industry, it is a little bit more frequent, of course, because of all the materials and things they usually read from America and Europe and stuff like this. But yeah, as I say, that's all I can really tell you about Selfmade Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. I'm guessing that they've got a VK page as well, which is one of the big Russian social media. And as always, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer itself then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty impressive. The crusher machine, the tyre track in there, obviously to symbolise like a monster truck or something like this. But there you can see the Selfmade Brewery symbol there, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, that has been the symbol since 2016 when they officially founded the company, apparently. But this beer itself apparently is hopped with Citra, Zeus and Cascade, all 3 of which are American hops actually. Citra, as we know, about 14% alpha acid, lovely big juicy mango and citrusy components. Zeus is actually more of a bittering hop. It's got quite a distinctive herbal character to it, again about 14, sometimes up to 15 or 16% alpha acid though, and Cascade is the original American IPA hop, lots of nice kind of juicy figgy character out of it, a little bit of grapefruit and things as well. The beer also has a little bit of orange peel in it, and as we kind of talked about earlier, it uses a Hornindal Kveik yeast. So yeah, I think this should be a really interesting beer. Half-litre can. I bought this one at Beer Dome in the Netherlands. I think I bought this beer actually in about November of last year. So when I'm drinking this one, it is maybe about 6 months old, so it's not quite at its prime. But I found that the Kveik IPAs do tend to last a little bit longer, and when they're higher alcohol like this, they will last that wee bit longer. It's been kept at constant temperature, so it should be all right, I would think. So yeah, this one I think should be quite nice. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. I'm very, very curious to see how it turns out. So let's go for it. I think on the price as well, I think I paid about €7 or so for this beer. So yeah, the Russian beers, smells a little bit more like pineapple actually than orange. But yeah, maybe a mix actually of pineapple and orange. But yeah, the Russian beers tend to be a little bit more expensive because, you know, Russia and the EU politically don't get on very well, but the Russian people, in my experience, are very, very nice. But there's no trade deal between Russia and the EU basically, so there are tariffs on Russian products coming into the EU, and so you will pay a little bit more for the Russian beers. But you know, for me, I like trying stuff from different places, so I don't mind paying that little bit more to try some of the Russian stuff, of course. And you do get the bigger cans too, that's another factor. So you get half-litre cans instead of the 440s that you'll normally get from European breweries. But I think we've got about 2/3 of the beer in the glass for the moment. So that'll do to take a look at the colour of the beer and the aroma and things like this. But yeah, as you can see, the beer is poured with about a finger, maybe about a finger and a half of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass here, and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head. And the head actually looks as if it's retaining quite a lot, in fact. So yeah, I think that head might be around for the duration of the review. We'll just need to see. But in terms of colour with this one, if we shine the light through this, it's actually a very kind of rich yellow, very sort of light amber colour, this one. Usually the Kveik yeasts, of course, give you a very, very hazy beer. They also give you some nice big kind of fruity and juicy qualities, and we'll pick up that in the aroma. But as you can see, it's got a bit more of a kind of natural haze vibe to it, rather than the outright haze that you'll get from a New England hazy sort of IPA. But yeah, in terms of colour, a nice kind of light amber, I would say. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on, one, the type of malts that you use. That determines the magnitude of the colour, first off, and then the length of the wort boil also plays a role as well. The more you caramelise, the longer you boil the wort, I should say, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But you know, the magnitude of the colour is decided by the type of malts. Adjuncts and barrel aging, of course, will play a role as well, but neither of those variables are really at play when it comes to this beer. But in terms of a Kveik IPA or a Kveik double IPA, I think this one comes across pretty much as you would expect it to. You'd expect a sort of yellowy, kind of light amber colour beer from this particular style. I can see there's a few little bit of there's some very small particulate matter floating around in this one, very, very tiny particles, which you can see when you shine the light through it. But yeah, with a Kveik IPA, of course, you are going to get a wee bit of sedimentation and things like that. So nothing unusual, nothing really untoward about the appearance of this beer when you consider what style it is. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. So yeah, the beer, as I say, that was a bit strange with this one, because it said, when I translated what was on Untappd, it said there was a bit of orange peel in this one, but I think it smells a little bit more like pineapple, to be quite honest with you. Maybe a bit of orange and pineapple. But yeah, the aroma of this one is really very nice actually. But you can definitely smell that there is a bit of that big citrusy peel in this one. So you get quite a sharp adjuncty fruit at the very front of the nose with this beer, but behind that you get all the lovely kind of big yeasty, farmhousey characteristics that you would expect of the Kveik yeast. Remember, the Kveik, of course, like I say, will give you a good little bit of a fruity character. But I'm going to say straight away, the aroma of this beer is very, very nice. But it comes off, in the first instance, it really comes off as being a little bit more of a fruit IPA rather than anything else. I would think, I've got a feeling that if I was to smell this beer, I would think that it was like a pineapple orange kind of adjunct IPA. I would think it was something like that if I was smelling it blind without knowing what it is. So yeah, the aroma of this one is pretty nice actually from the first off. But let's take a closer look at it and break it down for you a little bit more in depth, if you like. So yeah, as I say, when you first take in the aroma, you're going to get quite a sharp citricy note out of this one. It does smell a little bit like orange peel. It does have a little bit of the kind of sharpness and zestiness you'd expect of orange peel, but some of the aromas are a little bit more kind of pineapple-y in a sense, which is quite interesting. As I say, it didn't, and it smells like an adjuncty pineapple as well. It's not like the sort of oily kind of things that you'd get from the hops. It really does smell like a very juicy and slightly sharp and zesty kind of pineapple that's coming out of this one. You know, adjunct fruits always smell a bit different from the esters that you extract from the hops. But behind that, of course, you can smell the backbone of the beer. So for me, you're getting a little bit of a kind of crackery note out of this one, like a I don't know how good a reference it is for Russians, but there's a little bit of a kind of cream crackery sort of note to this one. You do get one or two kind of woody qualities in the beer, and you can also smell that nice airy sort of yeasty quality coming out of this one. I think there's a bit of a wheaty bitiness at the back of the nose there. You get a little bit of a bitey wheaty quality out of this one, and then there's a soft sort of white bready character in there as well. But yeah, the aroma of this beer is very, very interesting in that sense. So yeah, crackery sort of base to this one, like I say, a little bit, a little bit of a kind of soft yeasty kind of note sitting in there on top, a little bit of a soft kind of white bready character in there, a few bread crusty elements as well. I would add a few woody undertones too, but a little bit of wheaty bitiness there, and I think that the wheat is kind of smoothing out the beer a little bit. I don't really get much of the weight of oats in this one. There's maybe a teeny little bit of an oaty character in the middle of the nose, but it's hard to tell, and of course it doesn't tell you on the well, it probably will in Russian, but what I meant to say is I can't read the Russian to tell you if there's oats in this beer, and it didn't say on the Untappd either. But yeah, there could be a little bit of an oaty character in this one as well, and with these guys being quite a modern American style brewery, I wouldn't put it past them to put a little bit of oats in this. And I think the more that you smell it, the sort of initial impact, if you like, of the orange peel and the pineapple, whatever it is that's been added in here, you do smell a little bit of a smoother kind of oaty character starting to come out of it as your nose adjusts to the beer. So yeah, I really like how this one goes about its business. Actually, it works very, very nicely in that sense. So yeah, the aroma of this beer, I think, comes across very, very nicely. So yeah, the malty and yeasty side of this beer has everything that you would want. On the hoppy side of things, you do definitely get a little bit of earthiness out of the beer. You can smell that big sort of herbal influence from the Zeus in this one. I'm guessing that the Zeus will have been used as the bittering hop, but remember, with these more modern IPAs, they're a little bit more reliant on late addition hops. When it comes to adding hops into the wort boil, the earlier you add them, the more likely they are to contribute bitterness and things like this, whereas if you add them a little bit later on, that's when you're going to get the flavour and aroma. You've basically got a trade-off over the course of the wort boil, and a beer like this is probably going to undergo a boil of, say, 70 to 90 minutes, something like that. So early on, it's all about the bitterness. Later on, it's all about the kind of juicy fruity, soft characters that you get out of them. So yeah, I really like how this beer goes about its business in that sense. So yeah, nice little bit of earthiness there, good little bit of herbal character. You can feel the Zeus in there as the bittering hop, if you like. But then on the front curve of the nose, if you like, on the front tip of the nose, I should say, mixing in with all that zesty, fruity character that you get out of it. You do get a nice kind of brighter, zesty, grassy quality out of this one. There's a big floral aromatic note in there, but I would say the green component is quite well balanced. You've got a bit of earthiness, a bit of a herbal quality from the Zeus, and some nice big kind of floral aromaticity. And when Zeus is a big, 14 to 16% alpha acid hop, usually you will get quite a bit of floral character in there, but nice zestiness, as I say, overall. On the fruity side of things then, let's try and see if we can pick up some of the hoppy side of the fruit. And as I say, you've got the pineapple, they've got what I suspect is pineapple and a bit of orange peel. They come in with quite an impact, but as your nose kind of adjusts to those, you'll start to get a few more things. Like, I think there's a bit of an oily mango underneath from the citra, there's a wee bit of a softer apricot in there, and you can smell a little bit of that kind of softer, almost slightly figgy note from the Cascade in there as well. Cascade's got a very distinctive flavour and aroma, actually, and I'm very used to that because one of my local beers in Scotland was a Cascade Czech Pilsen. Actually, one of the beers that I used to drink quite regularly, in fact. So I've got a good nose for Cascade, I would say. But the aroma of this beer is certainly very interesting. It gives you everything you would want from a Kveik IPA, but the fruity side of things is quite powerful in this. And some of that will, of course, be being contributed to by the yeast, of course, too. I think probably some of the apricot-y notes that you get out of this beer will be coming mainly from that nice Kveik yeast. So, yeah. the aroma of this beer is quite interesting. So take a little bit of time to ponder that over for yourselves before you get stuck in. But I think it's about time that we had a go at this one. So yeah, this one is the name's gone right out of my head now. So this one was the Crusher Machine. I was going to say the Machine Crusher. This one is the Crusher Machine, an 8% Kveik double IPA from Selfmade Brewery in Moscow, over in Russia. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanje, skål, cheers, and nastrovia. Oh yeah, that's still in pretty nice condition actually. So the beer, it says on the can that it's the very end of October 2020 that it's been produced, but it's still in really good condition actually. I'm drinking this one towards the end of May, so this beer is about 7 months in the can at this point, but it's holding up very, very well, and probably part of that is due to the alcohol, things like that, the fact that it's an 8% double IPA, but the hops and everything are actually coming out of this one quite nicely, although obviously it's not at its freshest at this point in time. You know, you always want to drink these beers usually within 3, maybe 4 months, but it's still holding up pretty well, this one. But I certainly like it, and I will say straight away it's another good quality Russian beer, but with what I've had from Russia so far, I'm not surprised, to be quite honest. So yeah. Need to see if I can try a few more beers from this brewery at some point for sure. I'll keep an eye on Beer Dome for some more things from these guys when they're releasing the Russian beers and so on. But yeah, let's see how we go with this beer then. But first impressions of it are that it's a very smooth beer. This one, you get a good bit of the juicy, fruity, adjuncty note, but you get a lot of that kind of lovely farmhousey Kveik quality out of this one. It showcases the yeast actually very well. So thumbs up to Selfmade Brewery for this one. I think they've done a solid job with this beer. So yeah, let's try and break down this one a little bit more for you and describe the flavour a little bit more kind of in depth. So in terms of the fruity side of the beer, the adjuncty sort of thing, it's not as powerful on the impact as when it comes in. It really comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste, and it sort of juicens up, if you like, and it just complements everything else actually. So that's the first thing. The other thing I would say about this beer is the pungency of the fruity side of this beer is not quite as potent as the aroma would have you believe. But let's focus on the malty backbone of the beer first, and the yeasty components, the middle parts of your palate basically. So yeah, backbone of this beer is a lovely, very nice sort of crackery, grainy crackery sort of thing there, like a Jacob's cream cracker. There's quite a bit of that coming out in this beer, in my opinion. But yeah, sitting on top of that nice kind of crackery base, there's a sort of softer white bready note to this one. So you can feel, it feels like a mix of a smooth wheat, but also a little bit of that kind of typical airy sort of farmhouse yeasty ester that you get from these Kveik yeast. So a bit of a mixture there. So crackery base to this one. If you go towards the front, if you go towards the kind of front half of that middle third of your palate, you get 1 or 2 little woody undertones in there. But yeah, sitting on top of that, you get that sort of Jacob's cream crackery sort of thing. You get a bit of that airy kind of yeasty quality out of the beer, but then you get the kind of smooth wheaty components as well. I think if you go down the middle line of your palate, I think there might be just a little touch of oat in this one, because if you go down the middle line of your palate, you just feel a nice smoothness out of the beer, and it sort of just creeps out a little bit. It creeps out towards, pardon me, the edge of your palate, and I think that for me, just from experience of other beers, it really seems that there's a little bit of oat there. So I think there is a nice kind of line of oats just going right down the middle third of your palate, which is great actually. So yeah, as I say, when you go down that middle third of your palate, and if you focus on that middle third of your palate, you can feel that it really just smoothens out and always just gives you a tiny little touch of a slightly creamy sort of thing in the malt base too, and I really like that aspect of this beer. If you go to the dead centre of your palate, right in the middle of that middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a little circle there. There is a little bit of a kind of circle, and you get a little touch of a kind of butter candy, butterscotch type thing coming out of this one, and those are the alcohol flavours, of course. That's the alcohol pushing its way out of the beer, definitely. But yeah, it does add just a little touch of sweetness to the beer there, and that's another layer in the middle third of your palate. But yeah, the middle third of your palate is probably where the most complex part of the beer is, but I think it works very well. The other thing is, if you go to either end of that middle third of your palate, you get a little touch of a kind of bread crusty element coming out of the beer as well. But I think there's not much else to say about that middle third of your palate. So let's go to the back third then. Border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of a kind of bready build up there, a bit more of a bread crusty element, and then you can feel as you go into that back third of your palate, you start to get a little bit of a wheaty element out of it. At the very back of that back third of your palate, there's a little bit of bitiness from the wheat, but you can also feel some smoothness. It gradually smoothens out as you come further forward. You can feel some of the kind of yeasty character sitting on top of that as well. So in the back third of your palate, you'll start to get those nice airy components, that nice sort of airy, fluffy part of the Kveik yeast coming out of this one as well. So at the back of the palate, the flavour of the beer is quite tall, and you can feel that as you come forward, it just kind of condenses down a little bit. Then as you go into the middle third of your palate, as you reach the border region, it condenses down quite a lot, and then the flavours in the middle third of your palate are a little bit more sort of squashed together. So I think it works really nicely. So it's got a really good malty and yeasty component to this one, and as you go further into the aftertaste with this beer, you're going to notice a few flavours like, you know, pineapple, papaya, you know, maybe a bit of papaya, maybe a little bit of apricot. You're going to start to notice these types of flavours in the middle third of your palate too, which I think is very, very nice. So, you know, the malty and yeasty component in this beer is done very nicely. So big thumbs up to Selfmade Brewery here. It definitely makes me curious to try some of their other beers. So maybe I need to have like a West Coaster, a New England, a straight up New England, an Imperial Stout, and a Lager. It'd be cool if I could get those four from this brewery, just to see how these guys do the other ends of the other parts of the beer spectrum, if you like. But I think this one is very damn solid actually in the malty yeasty kind of things, and that is the critical part, I think, of a Kveik IPA. A lot of people underestimate the importance of the yeast and the malty side of the beer, but let's focus on that hoppy part of the beer now. In the back corners of the palate, you do have a nice little touch of earthiness there, but as you move further forward from that, it really becomes kind of herbal quite quickly. That's the Zeus for me. That is all about the Zeus. But then as you move further forward, you can feel as you reach the front kind of quarter of the sides of your palate, it starts to get a little bit more floral, and it's quite a deep floral aromaticity, just with a little touch of kind of spiciness to it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that the green component, the bittering hops in this beer are it is the Zeus. I think the Cascade could have been used as a bittering hop a little bit, but I think Cascade and Citra are most likely Aroma hops in this one, late edition hops. But yeah, you get a nice floral aromatic component on that front corner of your palate, and then round the front curve of the tongue, it's distinctly more kind of zesty and bright and grassy in a sense. So I really, really like how this one goes together. So yeah, the flavour component of this, the green component of this beer, sorry, is very nice, and it suits the rest of the beer. It builds a good bridge with the bitiness of the wheat and the zestiness of the fruit and things like that. So let's focus on that fruity part of the beer then, the front third of your palate. So if you go to that border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit more of a kind of bready build-up and a wee bit of bread crust again. Then the base of that front third of your palate is a kind of smooth, wheaty, sort of crackery type thing. So it's a bit of the yeast and a bit of what I suspect is wheat in this beer. Sitting on top of that, of course, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters push their way out of the beer. Those are from the hops, but you've also got the adjunct fruits playing in here as well. And whenever you add fruit as adjuncts into beer, it always suppresses a little bit of the green component around the edge of the palate there too. So bear that in mind with this one. Bear that in mind. But the fruity component of this beer is very, very nice. So let's focus on the hoppy side first. So if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you can feel there is quite a sort of bready, doughy, I don't know if doughy is the right word, but you can feel there's a little bit of a kind of bready, fluffy, yeasty sort of thing there. But at the very back of that front third of your palate, you get a slightly more kind of pungent passion fruit there. But as you move further forward, it becomes a more juicy, it becomes a really juicy, actually, mango quality. And I think that's both from a mixture of the Kveik yeast and the esters from the hop itself. But as you move more into the kind of middle of that front third of your palate, it becomes a bit more softer, a bit more kind of apricot-y. You can feel a little bit of the sort of almost figgy type quality from the cascade sitting underneath as well. But as you go into the front half of that front third of your palate, it's all about the citrusy side of things. I actually get quite a bit of a kind of lemony quality out of this one, and a lot of the pineapple. I think on that front third of your palate, you can feel it really has this orangey, pineapple-y type thing going on. You can feel like a really big, sharp, zesty orange in there, but you can feel a little bit of a lighter sort of pineapple coming out of this one too, which I think is really interesting. But you can also feel a nice orangey pineapple zest. It goes from the tip of the tongue all the way around to the side, and it spreads back, you know, about halfway around the sides of your palate. So that's definitely an interesting point to make about this beer as well. I think it's just really, it's really quite quirky, this one, for sure. But yeah, it's a really, really very nicely done beer, this one. So you've got a good balance between the yeasty fruits, the fruits from the hoppy esters, and also the adjunct fruits that have been added into this one. So yeah, I really like how this beer goes about its business, for sure. It gets a big thumbs up from me. It's got a lovely big zesty character to it. But yeah, let's round off the review with the mouthfeel then. This has taken a little bit more time to kind of wrap my head around, because there's quite a few things going on in this beer. But the flavour of this one is very, very nice, even when you consider it's not in its prime. I still think it's a beautiful beer. But yeah, on the mouthfeel side of things then, it's a very, very smooth beer, this one. I would describe this as being to the top end of mid-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth. It's almost quite creamy, actually, in a lot of ways, and I think that will be the yeast and the malty base kind of combining in this one. But it's a very smooth, kind of almost creamy leaning IPA, this one. In terms of hoppy bitterness and things, I think we're talking maybe about a 40 IBU beer. It does have a wee bit of a kind of herbal and floral bitterness to it, which I think works really well. But the zestiness, I think some of the zestiness from the adjunct fruits in this is really making it, I think that's sort of skewing the perception of the bitterness a little bit in this one, but in a very good way. But yeah, the fruity quality in this, the fruity side of this beer is nice and juicy, but there is a real kind of zesty kick to this beer, and I think that's you've got the two sort of parallels in this beer. You've got the big fruity zestiness coming out of it, and you've also got that smoothness of the Kveik yeast and a bit of the bitiness from the wheat there too, and a nice big green component as well. So you've got some really nice things going on in this beer, but it gets a big thumbs up from me, this one. It certainly made me curious about the other Selfmade Brewery beers that are out there, so I'll need to keep an eye out for those going forward, actually. But to me, very, very nicely executed beer. So big thumbs up to Selfmade Brewery for this one. So this one is the Crusher Machine, an 8% Kveik double IPA with a bit of I think there's a bit of orange peel and there's a bit of pineapple in this one, to be honest with you, but it works out very, very well. So I look forward to hopefully being able to find some more beers from these guys. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Selfmade Brewery. Do give me some other Russian brewery recommendations that I should keep an eye out for, and hopefully you'll see some more Russian things reviewed on the channel very, very soon. I always enjoy having a look at these beers. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Selfmade Brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys soon. Slàinte, Skull, cheers, and see you soon. See you on the next review.